So to recap everything, we want to boost our dopamine levels because the brain is kind of unbalanced when we become newly sober. Ways to do that is with physical activity, mentally stimulating activities, and novelty activities, things that you've never done before. Hey everyone, welcome back to Damn Tasty Vegan. It's your friend Maria Rose. Today we're going to talk about how to have fun while sober, because before I went sober, for many years I had this mindset that was holding me back, that I wasn't going to have as much fun. I was going to miss out on a bunch of stuff. Oh, I was going to be like the lame-o at the party, sitting in the corner, watching everybody else have fun. As an introvert, like I was that anyway. So if you're holding on to that mindset that you're not going to have as much fun while sober, or maybe you're newly sober and now you're like, what the hell do I do with all my time now? I don't know what to do with myself. So first things first, I want to mention that when you have a drinking problem, it messes with the dopamine levels in your brain so that you have to keep drinking more and more to keep getting the same amount of dopamine rush. So your dopamine threshold is super high. What that means is when you become newly sober, things might not feel as fun as they did because your dopamine levels are so low. Your brain just needs time to rebalance itself. So don't worry, it's only a temporary feeling. And so the way that we're going to shock the brain back into getting that dopamine rush is by doing physical activities, doing mentally stimulating activities, and doing novelty new activities. All three of those will boost your brain dopamine levels and prevent you from feeling restless and wanting to go back to drinking. Number two, you have to kind of reframe drinking in your mind. Like if you really look at it at its base level, it's so boring. Like, is it really that fun to go to a bar, sit on your ass for 4 or 5 hours, drink, and then make an ass out of yourself and feel like shit the next day? No, there's a lot of things that are a lot more fun than that. So that's one thing to keep in mind so that you don't fantasize about it and want to go back. So a great thing to do is physical activities because it boosts the serotonin in your brain. So when I became sober, I found a new love of doing fun physical activity. I'm not talking like going to the gym and running on the treadmill. I'm talking about being physical the way you did as a kid. So something you can do and that I love to do is like go to trampoline parks, going to indoor wall climbing, going to roller skating rinks, going to ice skating rinks, going to a spinning class, riding my bike. Around where I live, they have urban bike groups. So like every Thursday or Saturday or something, people get together and like bike around the city together. And they'll even deck their bikes out with like neon lights and music and things like that. And it's this really fun social thing to do. If you used to love dancing in the clubs, but that's kind of a trigger for you because there's alcohol around, another thing you could do is take a dance class. One thing I really love to do is take a pole dancing class because I find that mimics like a club the most because they blare the music loud, they have really sexy fun lights, and you learn like a routine and you can get really into your body. So try to go to these places on Friday, Saturday nights, or if you really want to appreciate your sobriety, go on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Because remember the days when you weren't able to get up for that stuff because you were too hungover? Not anymore, my friend. Being physical also helps you to process any emotions, traumas that you've been pushing down with drinking, and you're gonna need some way to process that. Another thing to do is to find an adult sports group, like an adult soccer league, softball league, volleyball league. It's a great way to make friends. It's a great way to focus on something that's not centered around drinking. Also look into taking any classes that might be new, unfamiliar, because again, the novelty of something is a dopamine boost. You wanna boost that dopamine. So another thing I like to do to keep my mind occupied is to focus it on puzzles or games. One thing I really love to do is go to escape rooms. Oh my God, I love puzzles. Escape rooms are really nice right now as well because you can get a couple friends together, rent out the room, and not have to worry about being in a crowded place with a bunch of people. I also got really into playing board games. I'm not talking like Sorry and Monopoly, although if that's your jam, go for it. But I'm talking like the adult games that are really involved, like Terraforming Mars, Settlers of Catan, and before the shit hit the fan, I really like to play the game Pandemic, but I haven't been able to play it since the real pandemic hit. So games like that are strategy based, that take at least an hour to play. You can get together with some friends and play it. It occupies your mind, it gives your mind something to focus on, and it also makes you feel accomplished. I also got back into playing chess, and learning strategies and opening sequences. Another thing you can do to stimulate the mind is to take language classes. I have been diving back into learning French. One thing that's been really fun is I've been going to French meetups. You meet up with people and you just sit in a coffee shop and speak French. As a matter of fact, go on meetup.com and you'd be surprised how many different groups there are for different interests. They have meetup groups for everything. Another fun thing to do is to take a walking tour of your city. We can live in a place for years and years, but then never really know the history of it. And when you go on a tour of your city, you really get to appreciate it in a different way and maybe learn something you didn't know about it. You can also go to museums. My favorite is going to science and history museums. I love art museums, but I don't know, science and history museums, those ones just like, they're so freaking interesting and fascinating. Also going to the planetarium, you just learn about the sky and stuff. Oh, it's just so interesting. Now, I love going to the movies. Something you can do if you love going to the movies and you want to try something new is go to live theater. So go see a play, go to an opera. I really this year want to go to a ballet. I've never been to a ballet or an opera. And again, that's something new that I've never done, so I'm getting that novelty dopamine boost. So if you really loved going out to a place and getting a special drink like on the weekends, a way to replace that is to go to a coffee shop or a tea shop instead. Bonus points if it's a new place because you're getting that novelty factor. What I really love to do is go to tea shop. I'll talk in a little bit more about tea, and then I'll go with a friend or my husband to a local park and we'll play chess. So it's like, it gives my mind something to do. It feels like I'm going out, getting out of the house, and then we're going into a park and like doing an activity. And really treat yourself. Don't be afraid to treat yourself with specialty drinks, especially if you are newly sober and you're feeling like you're missing out. Like, treat yourself in other ways. Speaking of tea, I mentioned in one of my last videos about why I love being sober. I talked about how tea is an amazing replacement for wine. So if you were a wine head and you loved the ritual of drinking wine, you loved the world of wine, learning about how it's grown and all that stuff, or just having a glass of wine with your friends and relaxing, good quality loose leaf tea is an amazing replacement for wine because number one, the world of tea is super fascinating. If you were intrigued with how wine was grown, tea is kind of grown in the same way. Depending on where it's grown, how it's grown, it can have different varieties and different textures and flavors and scents. Buy a nice tea set. Like the ritual of having this nice tea set and this nice loose leaf tea, and you have friends over and you pour the tea for everyone and you sip the tea, and the tea gives you this little buzz and this warm, cozy feeling, and you're chatting with friends. Oh, it is such a lovely feeling, and I found it's a great way for me to replace that, like having wine with a friend. If you are a wino, then check out the world of loose leaf tea. Speaking of self-care, something you can do is rent out hot tubs or go to a bathhouse. You can go there with your friends, get a massage, just hang out in a steam room. Maybe not right now when the pandemic is raging, but later on. Another thing you can do is there's places that rent out hot tub rooms. So you can rent out a hot tub all to yourself at these places, and you and a couple of friends can go and sit in a hot tub on a Friday night without having to worry about crowds. And one last thing to do to have fun while sober, or just to keep you occupied while sober, is to volunteer. Volunteering gives us a boost in dopamine. It makes us feel like we are needed in the world. It makes us feel like we belong. It's a great way to make friends that don't center around drinking. And it's a great way to make the world a better place because the world can frickin' use it right now. I'll put some links below on ways that you can find to volunteer in your city. It can be as simple as reading to elderly people, taking them food. You could do food not bombs if it's in your city. It's like a vegan portable food kitchen. Volunteer at animal shelters, walking the dogs. There's just so many different ways to volunteer. It's a great way to get you up and out on weekend mornings and appreciate sobriety. So to recap everything, we want to boost our dopamine levels because the brain is kind of unbalanced when we become newly sober. And ways to do that is with physical activity, mentally stimulating activities, and novelty activities, things that you've never done before. So I hope this video helped you out. I hope it helped you to find new ways to have fun while sober. And I hope it helped you to start to shift your mentality around how fun drinking actually is. Leave me a comment below on if you're newly sober and there's ways that you love having fun. Leave them below. Let's help each other out, get ideas. I hope this video helped you out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and leave any comments or questions below. Thanks a lot. Bye.